Charboneau and David Lynn Miller.
Welcome to Dudes on Movies. I'm your dude Scott.
I'm your dude Dave.
And today we're discussing 1998's The Wedding Singer, directed by Frank Coraci and starring Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler. But before we do that, let's talk about what we've been watching. Dave, what have you been watching?
Well, I don't know if you remember a few months ago on one of our Question of the Week episodes, I mentioned that I wanted someone to make a documentary about Vince McMahon. And we got one.
Yeah.
We did. Chris Smith, the director of American Movie, we covered on a previous episode, he made this long 6-hour documentary on Netflix called Mr. McMahon. And it came out right after the most recent allegations against McMahon that finally permanently forced him out. And so that last hour is all about that aspect of his life. And I was impressed with the movie overall, but some of the interview segments made me lose respect for some people that I used to like. And then some other interviews reinforced how I already felt about some other people.
Okay.
If you're a wrestling fan, it's essential viewing, and you got to check it out.
I've been meaning to.
Yep.
And so is it broken up into parts
Yeah.
since it's a Netflix thing?
Yes.
Like 3 2-hour segments?
It's six 1-hour segments.
6 1 hours?
Yes.
Okay. I might have to jump on this immediately.
Yeah.
Jump from the top ropes. That's what I'm going to do.
You said it, dude. You got corkscrew plancha right off of it.
Yeah, frog splash,
Yep.
all the stuff.
Uh-huh.
All right, cool. I'll check that out. Everyone else, definitely watch that. I watched Near Dark. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. I think you are.
I am very familiar with Near Dark.
This movie rules.
Yeah, it
By the
does.
way, and it's been on my backlog for many, many years.
Okay.
And I got Funny Face from the library, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna watch that tonight. Let's watch Near Dark. This is Kathryn Bigelow's first movie. It's a dark and gritty 1980s vampire punk western with Lance Henriksen and Jeanette Goldstein and Bill Paxton, and it is just a good time, dude.
I know it is.
It's tight and stylish, and there's no fluff to it, really, and they don't even mention vampires in the film. They just are vampires, and it goes into, like, some of the trappings of vampire stuff, but a lot of stuff they just throw out the window, and it's just such a well-crafted film. Like, there's a scene in the middle when they go to feed at this roadhouse where there's just a bunch of locals. And dude, it is like a master class in how to direct a film and acting, like just setting up the shots. It's just awesome. So like everybody, if you haven't seen Near Dark, you got to see this movie.
And I love to, like you said about how they make up their own lore, and I love that they talk about cures for it.
Yeah.
And it even sounds reasonable.
Right. Dude, it's a good time.
Yes.
It's definitely a good time. All right, so now let's talk about The Wedding Singer, Dave. Why don't you give everyone a synopsis?
Yes. Well, this is one of Adam Sandler's early comedies in which a wedding singer meets and falls in love with a waitress who works at the same event center that he does. But due to a series of unfortunate circumstances and misunderstandings, as well as their current relationship statuses, the couple can't get together and make it work. And though the movie is often funny, it can also be exasperating, and I have a feeling that I'm going to come off like a real scold on this episode. So before we get started, I want to warn everybody ahead of time that this might happen. I'm going to try my best to be a gentleman, but it might get away from me.
Usually it gets away from you, so we're in for some fun moments on this episode.
Probably, yes.
And I'll tell you what, I've got some things to say about it too, Dave.
Okay,
So, I put this on our schedule, and mainly it's because I have a lot of nostalgia for this movie. I watched it a ton when I was younger. I first saw it at a party in like 8th grade or something, and then bought the DVD and watched that a bunch. So I have a lot of good memories of it, but I haven't seen it in many years. And I was thinking, okay, it's still considered one of his better films that he's done, and it's early in his career before we got all tired of his stuff.
Yes.
And so I wanted to go back and see, like, what do I think about this now? Like, do I still feel the same way? And I kind of do, but I do have different opinions on a lot of the movie. So
you were a big fan of it before?
I was a big fan.
Okay.
Yeah. So early Sandler, like, I was all there for him.
Right.
Nowadays, I'm not as much, but
Yes.
I still love Happy Gilmore. So
Yeah.
I think that one's his best movie.
Well, yeah, and I mean, dude, Adam Sandler has made me laugh a lot, and I think he's a real talent. And I mean, I got They're All Gonna Laugh at You, that album, when I was 16, and I listened to it nonstop.
Yeah. Have you listened to it recently? Don't.
I haven't, yes. But I don't even, the thing is, I know what you mean. I probably would be like, cringing through the whole thing. But the thing is, I memorized At a Medium Pace and Tollbooth Willie and the Piss Pals and all that stuff. So I already know how cringe it all is.
Yeah.
But as I got older, of course, I started to enjoy his movies less and less because as he aged, he didn't mature.
Yeah.
And like most of his comedies had that unmistakable Happy Madison sheen to them. And even though he didn't direct these films, it's obviously he was calling the shots. And once I realized this, I didn't want any more of it.
Yeah. I looked it up, a list of the films he's been in and produced and written and stuff like that. And I went down this list, and most of the ones he doesn't have any producer role or writer role are his better ones.
Yeah.
So that should say something. Happy Madison Productions is the trash version of Adam Sandler.
Dude, I mean, like, I'm suspect of any powerful man who has loyalists. I mean, like, Frank Karachi and Dennis Dugan, they direct most of his movies, and then Tim Herlihy and Alan Covert are his main writing partners. And it's okay to have frequent collaborators, but I think this group's output goes beyond that. Yeah. I mean, it feels more like, Charles Foster Kane.
And it's because people support it.
I know.
People like it.
I know.
And, I mean, I don't want to put him down, but there's better stuff.
There is, because like you said, the stuff that he had no control over is the best stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not even all like Punch Drunk Love and Uncut Gems. There's other stuff in there that's very good. Mm-hmm. Even comedy stuff that's very good. I mean, Funny People is, I guess he had some hand in Funny People.
Yeah.
But he has his moments. He's a creative guy.
Yeah.
It's just that, like, Grown Ups 2, the movies where he's making fun of people, those aren't funny.
Yeah, and I think it all starts with this movie. Like,
right.
Even in, like, Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, which came out before this one, they're still making fun of people, but it's not as rampant.
That's true.
As it becomes.
Right.
And in this movie, it gets... There's a lot of making fun of people. There's actually a whole sequence of making fun of people.
I guess that's true.
In this film. But I think this is kind of the birth of also... He's, like, got that I'm too cool sarcasm coming out.
I know.
None of the jokes are on him, really. And, I mean, the movie is just... The sympathetic moments for him, like, that's a trope of Adam Sandler movies that kind of happens here. Like, I feel like this spawned the rest of the crap we got, and they never changed anything.
I know, and it's weird because, like, there are moments in this movie where he's kind of at his best because his persona is, like, the goofy, sensitive type. You know, sometimes.
Yeah.
And then in other times he's making fun of people. And, like, those are hard to take, but when he's, like, really... making you feel for Robbie, he actually does get you, and it actually, you can empathize somewhat.
Yeah.
Because he's giving a winning performance in those moments.
Yeah. And I think the movie's well written overall.
Yeah.
With some really bad scenes in there.
Yeah.
Like, not just the ones that are offensive, like that we've been hinting at, but there's some, like, very... very poorly written scenes besides that.
Right.
And we'll get to them when we get there, but it's the movie, I think overall, I think it does sit at the top of his better movie. Not at the top of his better movies, but in the better movie category for Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with Drew Barrymore. She's excellent in this.
Drew Barrymore is one of the most charming, likable actresses in cinema history.
Mm-hmm.
And she achieved all this while having to grow up way too fast. She was at Hollywood parties drinking and doing drugs when she was 10 years old, and no one was stopping it. And that she came out on the other side and became this successful is amazing.
Yeah. And she does have really good chemistry with Sandler.
Their chemistry, and part of what makes this movie so hard to watch for me, is that they're clearly meant for each other from the start.
Yeah.
Because, like, you just see them together, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's a couple.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, and comparing it to Before Sunrise might be unfair, but, I only do it to prove that when two actors have this much of a spark between them, obviously, it's just torture for your story to keep them apart.
when some of these characters finally realize, oh, you guys have a thing, it's like, what took you so
I know.
long?
How did you not see
Christine
this?
Taylor, it's right in front of you.
How did she not? I mean, that she has to be talked into it.
I know. But yeah, they are great together, and that's really where the movie shines.
Right.
Like there's scenes when Drew is really upset, and I want to just cry for her. Like,
I know.
it's so good. But then there's the crap that's in it. Do you want to get into the film?
Let's get into it. Yeah.
All right. The movie kicks off with a banger. Adam Sandler plays Robbie Hart. He's the wedding singer, and we kick off at a wedding. He's singing "Spin Me Round" by Dead or Alive, and it's a great song.
Yes,
everyone's having a good time. It's this. He's killing it, basically. Yeah. This is like the wedding you want to be dancing at.
And I think Adam looks great in this movie too.
Yeah, he's got the like big hair and stuff. Yeah. The movie like oozes that 80s that we think of, right? Even if your 80s didn't look like this was the 80s you think about in nostalgia.
So, and I like that even though it was a period piece, they didn't go too hard on 80s stuff. At least with the principal actors. They have Alan Covert looking like kind of cartoonishly 80s, but like Drew Barrymore doesn't look, she could be anywhere.
Yeah, she's just a normal girl.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, like, and then Christine Taylor's looking like Madonna the whole time.
I take that back, yes. They did go kind of extreme with some of the
They went pretty far.
characters.
There's a DeLorean,
yes.
Miami Vice
yes,
clothing.
That's true. You're right.
They went pretty hard.
Yeah,
but
what was I thinking?
You're right about Julia,
right.
Drew Barrymore's character.
Right.
Yeah, she's just a normal girl.
Yeah, she could be anywhere. If you told me she was like that, this was 1993, she would have looked just sort of like right at home too.
Yeah, definitely. So the wedding is awesome. Everyone's having a good time. The song ends, and then Steve Buscemi comes up to give a best man speech, and he's completely wasted. And he's not really a big character in the movie, but the point of his scene is to like really bring the room down.
Yes.
He starts telling stories about his brother when they picked up those hookers in Puerto Rico, but he doesn't remember paying. So, and then like he's talking to his dad, like, I'm a good kid too, Dad. You know, the worst wedding speech you could ever give.
I've been privy to a couple of horrific best man toasts.
Ooh.
And they weren't this bad, but they were still just like, you're sitting there going, dude, stop talking.
Yeah.
Including one that I gave I at my brother's wedding. I said some really dumb shit.
Where you're like, Dad, I love people too.
So I didn't get into like personal issues, but like I just like said something about like how I hope they have kids soon or something like that.
Okay,
and
yeah.
it just like because I had no idea what I was gonna say, and
yeah,
you know, thankfully I didn't embarrass myself the way Steve Buscemi does in this scene.
Yeah,
but
like,
still,
your brother would never beat up the landlord.
Yeah,
that kind of
right.
shit.
Yes.
And so yeah, he gets like taken off the stage, and then Adam Sandler comes in and saves the day.
Right,
gives this great speech about how like he can tell by looking at them that they're meant for each other and they're going to be together for the rest of their lives. And he really, the wedding was over with until he did this.
He completely turned around what was an unsavable situation by giving an impassioned speech about true love. And he's really sensitive and cool. Yeah. And you're like, wow, okay, Robbie is a great guy.
And you can tell that he really believes that too.
Yeah.
And even it cuts to Steve Buscemi even like going, oh, he's a good wedding singer. You know? I don't know. I love the little cuts to Buscemi in this film.
I do too.
Because it's just Buscemi.
And I wish there was way more of them. I wish that he was playing the best friend.
Yeah. That would be great,
yeah.
right? Instead of Alan Covert.
Yes.
Alan Covert could be this guy.
Honestly, it would be a perfect role for Alan Covert, is the bit part of the scumbag.
Right. And that's usually what he gets, something, right? Like,
unless he's
like
starring alongside Linda Cardellini in like episode 10 of our show.
Vehicle. Yeah,
yes,
right.
Yes.
They found true love in that movie, didn't they?
Fucking hell. The idea of Alan Covert and Linda Cardellini is just it's disgusting.
It's not a match made in heaven.
No,
not at all.
Not on this planet. Never.
Did you notice that Dante is in this film also?
Dante is? Really?
Yeah, the guy from Grandma's Boy, the drug dealer. He's sitting at this table, and then when George starts singing, he goes, scary.
Man.
That's Dante.
That's Dante. Holy
I think
crap.
the guy's actual name is like Frank Dante in real life.
Okay,
so.
see, this is another thing of Adam Sandler. Like we talked about earlier, like out-of-control cronyism.
Yeah, dude.
Man.
Everyone.
Yes.
So, yeah, he saved the day. He's going to go take his break now. And so he has George take the microphone. George is the member of the band, and it's Alexis Arquette playing George, and it's supposed to be like a Boy George look-alike type thing.
Right.
And so George comes up and sings, "Do You Really Want to Hurt Me?"
And she's doing a great job.
Yeah.
But she just goes on too long. It's like a 20-minute version of "Do You Want to Really Want to Hurt Me?"
It is. But what sucks about this film is when George gets up there, before they even start singing, the crowd starts looking at them like, ew,
Yes.
gross.
Yeah.
And that's the joke. Oh my God, a trans person is singing.
They must have been watching her from the stage.
I know, on the keys?
Yes.
Come on.
She's back there on the keyboard. She's been up there the whole time, just right behind Robbie. I mean, you must have seen her already.
Right. And the song is great.
And
It's not like a bad performance.
No, not at all.
I do like that when the song ends, she just sings it again. That's
what-
funny.
I think that's a great joke.
How you fix this is when you first start singing, everyone's having a good time.
Yeah.
Then when they sing again, the crowd goes, ugh,
Right.
what?
Right.
That's the joke.
Yeah, the joke should be they're tired of hearing her sing.
Exactly.
Not they're grossed
Right.
out.
And that's an Adam Sandler movie for you.
There it is, yes.
Yeah.
An Adam Sandler movie in 1998.
Exactly. So we get to meet Christine Taylor and Drew Barrymore here. Christine Taylor plays Holly, and Drew Barrymore is Julia.
Mm-hmm.
And they're waitresses here. They're cousins, I believe. And we hear that Drew Barrymore is engaged to a guy named Glenn, and he's not setting a date. And she's been worrying about this for years, apparently.
We hate him before he even appears.
Yeah. Sounds like a real jerk.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess she's crying outside, and she runs into Adam Sandler, and they become fast friends.
Yeah, like Julia goes outside to, take a break, and she finds Robbie out there. Now, is he helping the kid who was sick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kid who drank too much.
Yes.
Like, I guess, did Steve Buscemi give him alcohol, or was it the old man? Someone gave this kid booze.
Someone gave him booze, yes. And he didn't know how to handle it because he's 14.
Yeah.
And so he's, like, Robbie is holding his hair back while he Ralph's in the dumpster.
Yeah.
And it's a very nice thing to do for a kid. And this has to happen to every kid at some point. You have to figure out drinking.
Yep.
And the only way to figure it out is to get sick.
Oh,
Yeah.
man,
I
it's
know.
not good.
It's not good.
But it also shows more of how great Robbie is.
Right.
You know? And I don't think they overdo it. Like, I feel like they do it enough.
Yep.
He's just a genuinely good person, a genuine nice guy.
Yes.
He has his flaws like everyone, but this is a good person. Not
Right.
like Glenn, not at all.
No.
Who they're supposed to be opposing each other, of course, right? Because he's the guy who's just not. He's the guy who's not right, who's just dragging Julia along.
Yes.
And Robbie's the guy that she's meant to be with.
Yep.
So in this scene, we get to see them, like, the chemistry instantly is there, and you're like, okay, yeah, they need to get together.
Man, I say the same stuff almost every week now about, like, conflict is at the heart of drama, and then that's just how it is. But sometimes I find it unbearable,
Yeah, it's tough.
Yes.
It's hard to watch. It's got to happen, otherwise we'd have no movie, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
They can't just all of a sudden be like, oh, okay, let's get married.
Well, see,
We're going to dump our fiancés. We learn here Robbie's going to get married like tomorrow or
Yeah,
something too.
right.
Something like that in a couple days. Yeah.
he's getting married very soon, and yeah, they have that in common. They both have fiancés.
Yeah.
But there's an absolute instant spark between them, and
Right.
they both, the characters and the audience, must be thinking, oh, they shouldn't get married. They shouldn't marry these other people.
Exactly. And I think that's what the intent is,
Of
right?
course.
We're supposed to feel that immediately.
Yes.
They're manipulating us.
Yeah.
And, they're doing a good job.
They do.
That's
They
what the
do it well.
rom-coms are supposed to be doing.
Right.
So the next day, we cut to Robbie giving singing lessons to a lady named Rosie. I think it's his aunt, Aunt Rosie, played by Ellen Dow. And she's going to sing to her husband at their 50th wedding anniversary. And you get some exposition here about, like, the wedding and Linda, who is Robbie's fiance, and all this stuff. And then the big joke is that he's giving her free lessons and she pays him in meatballs. And that's, like, the thing.
I have to tell you, like, this was the funniest joke in the movie for me is the meatballs.
When
And
she grabs his hands.
Yes.
Yes.
I shouldn't say funniest joke in the movie. There's other things that made me laugh, but this
Yeah.
really made me laugh.
This is a good one.
I liked when he holds out his hands and she puts meatballs in there, and then she wants him to taste them.
Yeah.
And it's just making the biggest mess in her house, and she doesn't notice. She doesn't care. She just really loves Robbie, and she wanted to give him some meatballs.
Now take a bite. That's my favorite part. And so he takes a bite out of one, says it's a good meatball, and she's just like, oh, yes. And she grabs his hands and like shaking him around, you know, like no one would ever do this.
Right.
And that's why it's funny.
And I love, too, that Ellen Dow started her acting career when she was 70 years old.
Man. Was this her first movie?
I don't know if it was her first.
Okay.
But she has, like, never been in anything where she wasn't the old lady.
And she's definitely known for this film.
Yes.
Like, she was all over the trailer. That's
Right.
for sure.
Yes, because when she sings Rapper's Delight, it's amazing. It's really quite a moment in movies.
It is. Like, that was the commercial, and everyone's like, I have to see this
Yes,
movie.
right.
You got to go to the theaters now, man. But, yeah. And she also says, like, some inappropriate stuff, too, about, like, how Robbie's nervous about the wedding. And he's like, well, I'm around weddings all the time. And she's like, no, the wedding night. Like, you're going to have to show your penis to someone. And, like, she gets really kind of really vulgar. She's like, don't worry, you know, I had intercourse with 8 men before I was married. Back then, that was a lot. That was like 200 today.
You know, and dude, I know that the swearing granny is like a trope, and I couldn't help it. I was laughing.
It's funny. She's funny in
she's
this.
funny.
It's actually good.
Yes.
Yep.
All the stuff about screwing 8 guys, I was just like, yes, give me more of this.
Yes. Yes. It was good. Don't ask for that, though, Dave. There's a scene later, a deleted scene that was in my cut.
Okay.
That is not good.
Oh, man.
Actually, some of her stuff is good, but
Okay.
it stops the movie dead in the water.
Yeah, less
so
is
I'm
more.
glad they cut it.
Got it.
We'll talk about it when we get there. So we cut to Robbie's wedding. He's at the altar, and Linda is not there, and everyone's just waiting around. And there's a nice like string rendition of "Don't Stop Believin',"
Yeah.
which is really good. But after a moment, Robbie's sister Kate comes up and just says, "Hey, we found a note. You know, she's okay, but she's not coming." And so you get Adam Sandler in that the rage is boiling, but he's not doing anything moment.
Yep.
And so he leaves and goes into the gazebo and starts trashing the place. You don't see him throwing stuff, you just hear it.
Right.
It's a funny gag, and it doesn't last too long. But that's what became like, that was like a Sandler trademark, where he just gets enraged and destroys things.
Because it even predates his movies. I mean, there was a lot of SNL bits where he did that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's that scene, which is quick and done, which
Right.
I'm glad.
Yeah, I like...
We get moving.
Yes, we do. The movie does move. And I think, is it here where we cut to like them in the kitchen talking about stuff?
Yeah, they're eating breakfast because I guess Robbie lives with his sister
Yes.
and his brother-in-law, played by Frank Severo. Frankie Carbone himself.
Dude. And Frank Severo, man, like his hair is perfectly shaped and colored.
It's always been like that.
I know. When he was like Janko Abendando in Godfather 2, it looked like this, but he had like a newsboy on top of it.
Yeah. And I don't think it has ever changed.
No,
It might not even grow. I think it's just stuck in that position forever.
I know. He was born with that helmet. I've never seen anything like
It's
it.
so good. So, like, they're sitting here eating breakfast, and Alan Covert is there.
Yes.
He plays Sammy. He's, like, the limo driver and the best friend of Robbie. He's there eating breakfast with them. I don't know why he's there.
Well,
But
was he the best man?
I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But they're there, and, you know, his nephews are there, and they're these little shitty kids, you know, who are cussing and stuff, and that's the joke. When Severo, like, kind of hushes them,
Yes.
and I'm like, oh, that's good. Like, that's a mob move.
Yeah, it is, dude. Right?
The kids are all like, oh, yeah. Okay. But, yeah, later, he's on the porch, and Linda shows up, his fiance, and reveals to him, you know, basically, I'm not in love with you anymore. I'm in love with the Robbie from 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? That's what happens, people. Sometimes people
Yeah.
outgrow each other.
Right.
And you are holding on to an idea that doesn't exist.
And Angela Featherstone plays Linda, and she's very good in this.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I agree with you that she gives a good reason for not wanting to marry him. It does suck to jilt somebody at the altar.
Yes, and that's what Adam Sandler yells at her about.
Right.
And he's like, it would have been nice to know that yesterday.
Yes. Another trailer line that was just in my head for many years.
Yes.
Him screaming yesterday.
I think he does it twice in this scene also because it's that funny.
Yes, that's right, dude.
It is funny, though, when he kind of raises his voice in that one. I do like that one. And then, like, one of the kids run out and calls her a bitch. Yes. Which I find it really funny because that makes me think Frank Severo's in there saying she's a bitch.
I mean, it's another instance where I'm just like, I know I shouldn't laugh at this, but I laughed when the kid called her a bitch. Yeah, you're a bitch.
Oh, my God, yeah. But, so, they're done. They're through, right? So, I actually feel really bad for Robbie here because that's what he wanted.
Yeah.
And I think Linda reveals she's just going to be stuck here in this town forever. And he's like, well, what's wrong with this town? Like, all her friends are here? And they don't even want the same thing. So, like, yeah, it's probably best you didn't get married.
Yes, in the end, right.
Cutting it off in this fashion was not right.
Right.
But, yeah, you probably shouldn't have.
And also, showing up on the day you did the jilting is, or even the day after.
The next morning.
Yeah, either one. Like, I think if you do that, you probably just have to, like, cut it dead. Like, you never see that person again.
You're just completely ghosted.
Yes.
Oh, man.
And I know that sucks, but it's like, maybe it is honorable to show up and be in person and, like, say something. But I mean, like, you've already done so much damage.
I think you have to show up. You have to show up.
You do? Okay.
You have to.
All right.
I mean, if it was me, I'd have to do it.
Okay.
I'd have to come clean, I guess.
For your own conscience sake,
I couldn't
probably,
live like that.
Right.
I don't. Maybe Linda can. You know, a lot of people could, Dave.
Oh, yeah, and they have.
And they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at this point we meet Glenn, Julia's fiance, played by Matthew Glave.
Yes.
And he's the douchebag we've heard about. He shows up with some, like, roses or flowers or something. And he surprises Julia. She's listening to her Walkman, 99 Luft Balloons.
Uh-huh.
There's tons of 80s needle drops in this movie.
And to watch Drew Barrymore, like dancing to
her head's, like,
Luft
going
balloons,
back and
yes,
forth.
head bobbing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, okay, this is Drew Barrymore.
Yep.
And, like, you could just watch this for days because she's awesome.
Yep.
And when this dumbass shows up, she's so far out of his league. And to know that what he does, that he works on Wall Street, and he's like saying, "Hey, listen, Jules, let's get married, but we're gonna go to Vegas."
Yeah,
I understand wanting to go to Vegas and do a cheap wedding. I get that. I got married in a courthouse because you know it just happens.
Yeah,
it's just that, like, this is to spring this on her when you're, like, I guess in month 9 of your engagement,
and the way he does it,
right?
He comes in and he's like, ba-dum, ba-dum, da-da-da-da, and she's like, oh my God.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, Vegas, baby. And she's like, oh my God. No. And you can see it on her face. That's not what she wants.
Right.
And she's like, but you know I want a wedding. And he makes his argument like, yeah, I know, but I don't want all the people there. They don't even care. They just want the food. And, like, he's making some points, but really that's, no. What he wants is to just go to Vegas.
Right, because
that's it.
Even if what he's saying is true, he wants a trip to Vegas is what he's really after.
And so she agrees to it, and she's pouty still, and he says something condescending like, are you doing that girl thing where you're happy on the outside but not on the inside?
Uh-huh.
And she says, no, I'm not. And then he changes his tune. He's like, all right, we'll get married. We'll have a really great wedding here with all our family and everything. And she lights up.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Glenn, thank God. And in this moment, Glenn seems okay.
Sure.
Right? And then he says to her while he's hugging her, it's more important to you anyway. That's how he talks to her throughout the entire film.
Every time you think he's a decent enough guy, like, he says something to make you realize, oh, no, he isn't.
Yep. So we go to the next wedding that Robbie's working at after he's been dumped at the altar. So he's probably not in the mood to be at a wedding, right?
Right.
And it shows because he's singing Celebrate by Madonna, and it is a horrible rendition. He is sad, crying.
Yeah.
No one's having a good time.
And whenever he sings in any movie, especially this one, like, he has a really good singing voice. He had a good singing voice on that album we talked about, They're All Gonna Laugh at You. Mm-hmm. At a medium pace, it starts as a love ballad, and he sounds great. And but, like, he inevitably has to veer into, that the Adam Sandler voice.
Putting a little sauce on it all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's always annoyed me from age 14 on. I'm just like, dude, just sing.
I used to love it back in the day.
Yeah?
You know, I was just like, I guess when I was 14, I was like, oh, yeah, so that's hilarious, man.
Yes. I thought it was hilarious too, but it's just I got sick of it. The other thing on Saturday Night Live, one of the best things he would do would be like, he was great at impersonating musicians. I mean, his Eddie Vedder is really funny.
Mm-hmm.
His Bruce Springsteen is amazing. His Bono, it rules. But when he does it himself, when he sings his own voice, he can't. No, I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to let myself be a talented singer. I'm going to, the lunch lady voice.
Yeah, I got to have the comedy
Right.
aspect coming out too.
Yep.
And yeah, when he's crying here on stage, he can't even like complete the lyrics because he's so distraught.
Yes.
And there's the dad in the crowd who's getting really pissed at him, as he should.
Yes. I mean, yeah, the dad did pay him.
Yep. So he's done with the song. He starts giving a speech about how people are in love, but I'm not, and a lot of people will never find love because we're horrible. And then he starts pointing out all the freaks in the crowd.
Right.
That fat guy over there will never be happy until he eats some more. And then it cuts to the fat guy, and he goes, "What? Oh, you're right."
Ugh.
And then they cut to a bunch of dorky guys at the table, like, "Oh yeah, we suck." And that's the joke.
Yeah.
And it can be funny in certain ways, but he's really just saying, we're all losers here. Look at him and laugh.
If he didn't include himself, then it would be really cruel.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's still kind of cruel.
Right.
And then, but he sings the song "Love Hurts," and he's putting a lot of the sauce on this song,
Yes,
definitely.
yes.
And saying, like, "I hate you" to people in the middle of it. And I don't find it as funny as I used to.
I don't either, even though Love Hurts is probably the song. If you're going to do the Adam Sandler,
Yeah.
that's the one to do it with, because it's like there's places where you can do it.
Yeah.
And it still doesn't land because, we're not children any longer.
Right. And then he turns around and gets punched in the face by the dad, which is great.
It is. I
He
love that he
needed
gets
to get
punched.
socked.
Yes, right.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been performing this night.
No.
It was bad.
Yep.
So he ends up in the dumpster, I guess. They threw him in there or something.
We never know how he got in there.
I always wondered, was he hiding in there or did they toss him in the trash?
Now, when you mentioned was he thrown in there, I'm gonna go with that. So like the dad got some goons and they just tossed him in the trash.
Yeah. And so Julia's trying to find him, I guess, and she hears them in the dumpster and like he's like, "Can I come out now?" or something. She says something about how there's only a couple cops left interviewing witnesses,
Yes,
which is kind of good.
And earlier he had also it was another trailer line where he threatened to strangle the dad with his microphone cord.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, I have a microphone and you don't.
Yes.
Yeah. So she's here to tell him, like, "Hey, we set a date for my wedding. I want you to sing at it." And he's like, "I'm done singing. Sorry. No way." And
Right.
she's very upset about that.
Yep.
And he's completely out of his mind right here, too. So he walks away.
Right.
And then I think the next scene is when Frank Severo gives that hush to his kids, which is
Yeah.
pretty good. Like,
Right.
I guess Adam Sandler's going to babysit or something. I don't know.
And this was a weird moment too, because I know he lives in Andy and Kate's basement, but the way he enters the house is through the front door as he's coming from walking down the street, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Uncle Robbie," and it's like, well, don't you guys see him every day? Why are you greeting him like you haven't seen him in weeks?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're just polite, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows, right? But it
But-
seems like he would have just come upstairs.
Yeah. So the kids are like saying shit about like him having a nervous breakdown.
Yes.
Once again, repeating more things that Frank Severo has said behind his back.
Exactly. And there is one moment where the one kid does a pretty good reading, because Adam goes like, well, who's saying that kind of stuff? And the kid goes, "Oh, everybody's saying that stuff."
Everybody's saying it.
Yeah, it's great. He has a good head shake while he's doing it.
Yeah, and then Frank comes around the corner. "Kids, remember what we said." And the kids like hush up and they're like nod their head. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right, Dad. It's pretty good. They have like that sly look in their eye.
Yes.
And then he talks about how like his wife rubs his nipples or some shit,
Dude,
which becomes a big thing in the
I
movie.
know it's there's more than one scene of like people saying inappropriate sexual things to Robbie.
Yeah.
And it's usually either about him or in this case it's about his sister. And like how like, oh yeah, listen, we've been married a long time. There's not very many surprises. That kind of stuff fades, except there is some.
Maybe she'll give me a little strip tease or something. Yeah, like it's like, why are you telling him this? Frank Savaro's great in this. Like he just keeps like kind of talking. He won't stop talking.
He has a really funny performance, but I agree. Why would I understand like Ellen Dow, like maybe just because she's not playing a 70 or she's playing like a 100-year-old.
Yeah, she could be like a little out of her mind or something.
Exactly. Yes, then that explains why would she do that. Like this guy wouldn't stand there and start talking about nipple play.
I think when we first meet him, he's like watering the garden earlier in the film, and he's just rambling to Adam Sandler about something, and the camera follows Robbie off somewhere else, and Frank Savaro's off screen now, but he's still watering the plant, and you hear him like, "Oh man, now I got water all over my pants." Like, and it's just like out of nowhere for no reason. It's such a good line they put in here.
You're right. It's off camera. You're right.
Yeah, and it's for no reason at all. Oh my God. But I think at this point we go to Julia's engagement party. So Sammy and Robbie go over there, and it's at Glenn's house, which is a giant mansion. He's a rich stockbroker.
Yes.
A-hole.
Yes.
And we get to see more of him talking to Julia about how, maybe why don't you handle all the planning? I don't really like that stuff. You actually like it. Which, I get it. If she really likes it and wants to do it, let her do it.
Yeah.
But you can't just pass it all to her. You got to at least try to be involved somehow.
I've done this. Unfortunately.
I would let you take over if you want. Do whatever.
Yeah.
I'll help you. Just let me know.
Well, but even that is disengagement. I mean, like, when I say I've done this, I mean, like, there's been times where there was some activity that really should be something where you're sharing it.
I was going to say, at which wedding?
Yeah.
Like, which weddings do I not know about?
No, yeah, there's only been one, but it wasn't, like, about a wedding. It was just, like, some activity stuff. Or like, making plans and stuff.
I get it. Or like in school, you're doing a group project and one person does it all.
Well, it wasn't that. It was during relationships where like somebody was like, let's plan a vacation. It was like, oh no, you take care of that.
Okay.
And it's like, well, no, they wanted to like,
plan it
together. And I like just thinking I was being a good guy and, oh no, we'll do everything you want. Okay. Well, that's not what they wanted.
But your intention wasn't like Glenn's intention.
I guess not.
Of just saying, I don't want to fucking do that.
No, it wasn't. You're right.
Yeah, so we get to meet him and his other buddy. All they want to do is get shit-faced here. And so they do. And Adam Sandler and Robbie show up. And there's an interaction with Julia and the two of them. And they make fun of Sammy.
Yeah.
Because when he first met Julia, he said he was going to like give it to her and she doesn't even know it or something.
Yeah.
So they call him out like right in front of her. Robbie does this to his best friend.
This is really shitty.
Yeah, you don't do this.
I mean, honestly, like, even if, like, Sammy was talking shit, you keep that between you.
Right. But then Julia, like, jumps on board.
Right.
Like, oh, you were going to give it to me? Oh, cool. And he's like, oh, shut up, and leaves them alone. And it's a good moment between Robbie and Julia because you can see that they have this connection immediately. Yeah. Like, Robbie just started doing this one thing and she jumped right on with it.
Right.
And it could have been very embarrassing for her, right? But that's not how she is. And it was the perfect opportunity for her to jump on to the joke. And like this scene really, they also talk about how each other's doing, because after the last night it was bad and like they care more. They actually have real conversation, know, and they have real interest in each other. Yeah. Like, how are you doing? Like, they're actually real friends.
Yes.
And they care about each other. And you see that in this moment. This is the first time you really see that, I think. Before, it's kind of just, like, cute interactions and stuff. But, yeah, they're actually hanging out, and there's real chemistry.
Yeah, you can tell there's a real bond there.
Yeah. So now Robbie goes to work again for no more weddings, he says.
Yeah.
Now he's only doing bar mitzvahs, which is so ridiculous. And so he's singing at a bar mitzvah. Then we get another scene of George singing and another shot of the crowd going, ugh. So they had to recycle that joke.
Yeah, exactly. It was so good.
And then, yes. And then the big moment here is there's like a dorky fat kid in the crowd who the girl wouldn't dance with him.
Right.
Because he's a loser, she said. So Adam Sandler has like a moment where he gets the crowd together, all the boys, and he has Julia come up to pick like the coolest guy to dance with, and she chooses that kid.
Right.
And it's a real sweet moment, and they did it just to like make him feel better. And Julia knew exactly what to do. It doesn't look like they planned this.
No.
If you ask me.
No, they didn't, because like he springs it on her while she's serving food. And, like, Julia, I want you to do this. And she just knows, okay,
Yeah.
I think I understand what he's up to.
Because I think she saw him like talking to the kid
Yes.
earlier.
Yes.
And so they know. They just have this understanding.
And he said some encouraging things to the kid when one day, I know you feel bad right now, but there's going to be a girl who thinks you're cool.
Yeah. And so there's a big dance scene, like, well, not like a big dance number,
Right.
but like everyone starts dancing with each other. He's singing the beautiful version of That's All. This is the great classic love song. And everyone grabs each other's butts and stuff.
Yes, because like the kid, the loser kid, grabs Drew Barrymore's ass, and like she doesn't know quite what to do. She just looks over at Robbie, and he's like, "Well, I'll just go with it." And then she does the same to him.
Yeah.
And the rest of the couples pair off, and they all do it.
They all grab each other's butts. And it's great.
Yeah.
And while Robbie's dancing, he's not singing. George gets to have solos on like the trombone and stuff, which I freaking love, dude. Because I played the trombone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, Alexis Arquette's killing it up here.
Right.
This is great. Yeah. So it's another great moment of the two of them. And then later that night, she wants him to like help her plan her wedding.
Right.
Because he's the expert. So they end up doing that.
Yes, and we then get like a lot of scenes of them having a great time together planning this wedding. And I think is the first one where they go to the lady's house and she thinks they're a couple.
Yeah, she's like, you guys are going to be together for a long time.
Yeah.
Some people you can just tell.
Right.
Yeah, and then they say they're not getting married, and Drew Barrymore says, "Yeah, we're actually brothers and sister." You know. And so they play it that way for a bit and start like elbowing each other and
Right.
pulling each other's hair and stuff.
There's
it
like
looks like real pain. Actually.
I know, and there's one painful looking noogie that happens.
I'm gonna tell Mom. Yeah.
Yes,
It's a really good scene.
Yeah.
We get tons of these scenes where it's just like, okay, guys, we get it.
Yeah.
We get it.
Yeah.
Like, I like them, but there's plenty of them here.
And when I called it torture earlier, it is somewhat, because I know that they get together in the end. I knew they were going to get together in the end before I saw the movie. Mm-hmm. It's just that, like, when you know you're in for 90 minutes of their
Heartstring torture.
Yes, and the script deliberately keeping them apart.
Yeah.
It's not real, and I think that's what it's so strange, because like film is an art form, and an art form is supposed to reflect real life. So in real life, if these two people got together, if they met one another, yeah, they might not immediately get together, but it wouldn't be this much of a conflict. Their friends would pull them aside and go, "Hey, we can see the two of you, like, just go on a date together."
Yeah. I wonder, maybe Sammy and Holly haven't been around him enough. Maybe. And they're all work friends too, so when they talk about each other, it's not
Right.
like an unusual thing.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know.
It's just like, yeah, and it's weird. I guess maybe they weren't written well enough, like Sammy and Holly, that they wouldn't be the kind of good friends who would help you along in that situation. I just feel like even if it wasn't their friends, if it was just people who were like satellites around them, just going, "Oh my God, why aren't you together?"
Yeah. The lady just told them.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
and they pretended to be brother and sister.
And they have to, like, when someone says that about you and you're not with that person, it is a little awkward.
That's awkward.
But it's still, but
It's like
it
the
does,
kiss cam.
Yes.
You're like next to someone. Oh, no, I can't kiss that person.
That happened to me, actually. I was with somebody from work, and they was like, "Oh, come on."
You can't kiss cam. Surprise people.
No, you can't.
Stadiums.
Right, that's right. Enough.
I don't know who to blame, but the organist can take the blame. It'll be their fault.
Right.
Okay, Dave. So this is like one of my favorite moments. They need a wedding singer because Robbie's not going to do it. So they go to see Jimmy Moore,
Yeah.
played by John Lovitz. And he's singing Ladies Night by Kool and the Gang. And he's just 100% into it.
Yeah.
Like he is giving it his all. And I love it.
Yeah, John Lovitz really commits to this part.
Yeah,
And-
he's shaking it.
Yeah.
And he's being real sensual. It's great. when he says sophisticated mama.
Oh.
And he's like humping the air a little bit.
Man.
Like looking right at Drew Barrymore. Oh, I love that. It's so funny.
1998 was the year of John Lovitz because we had Happiness and this film.
He's great in he's champagne. That's like my favorite line in Happiness. It's so good. But yeah, he's doing that and she's not into it. They're sitting there looking at him like this kind of sucks.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess like this character was played in another movie. Like John Lovitz reprised the role in some other show or movie. So it's like there's a shared universe with the wedding singer.
I can see that.
Yeah.
It's a good character.
Right.
But they end up not hiring him because he's an asshole.
Yes.
He comes down and says something rude to Robbie about how he's grateful he quit working because now my business has tripled. Ha ha. Yes. This guy really sucks as a person,
he does.
And so then Robbie ends up singing a song for Drew Barrymore because he wrote a song about Linda, and so she wants to hear it. And it's a song that starts out lovely and then turns into like I fucking hate you, that kind of thing. And it's written in the vein of The Cure. So it's a really good song. I actually really like this song.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah. Do you not like this?
I didn't care much for this song. I think that Adam Sandler, when he's singing, he can be funny, of course. It's just that, like, I don't know, something about this one. I liked more Drew Barrymore's reaction to it. I liked how she was kind of into it, and then when he gets into the hateful stuff, she's like, oh. Yeah. And she doesn't immediately become horrified and run in terror. She just kind of like is amused by it, but also a little troubled.
Yeah. But then she kind of smiles a little.
Yeah.
Like, because he's actually, this song was written from his heart. You know, it's really how he feels.
Yeah. And in that way, it's nice to have honesty. For comedy purposes, it wasn't my thing.
Right. Well, I didn't think it was too funny, personally. I just liked the song.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't know. Like, if I was going through a breakup or something, I would be screaming this song, driving my car or something. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I've never penned a diss track after being broken up with, so, you know.
You've never, like, written a Taylor Swift song or anything?
No, it's never happened.
Okay, all right. So after he's done singing this, like, outrageous song, it cuts to John Lovitz standing on the side of the stage with the curtain next to him. And he says, he's losing his mind. And I'm reaping all the benefits. And he like moves his eyebrows a little. And then the curtain just closes in front of his face as he's devilishly smiling. It's so funny.
The curtain thing is the best part, man. It's really good.
It's the best. I think it's the funniest thing in the movie. I just die every time I see it. And like I guess we get like a montage of them doing more stuff.
Yeah.
Like they do get ice cream at one point and like talk about true love, like how do you know it's the right one, which is a very important scene, I guess, for later in the movie, but it's the little things that matter. They say like Robbie said Linda wouldn't give him the window seat on the airplane, and it would like just little things like that.
Right.
And she says she wants to be with someone she can grow old with, and that becomes like a song later in the movie. And so, I mean, and they talk about how she knows Glenn's the right one, and she doesn't really have a good answer for him. So we know that she feels it too. Like, it's not just us seeing they're bad together. She knows it.
Right. And I've been complaining a lot, obviously, about the two, you know, romantic leads not getting together. And I know, everybody, that it is a lot harder than I'm making it in real life. These kinds of things happen every day where people who should be together aren't together. And for one reason or another, they just can't make it happen.
Yeah.
I totally get that. It's just that it's real life circumstances. It's not manufactured like it is in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
When they're having a romantic conversation and eating ice cream together, and it's clear that they really like each other, and they're not married.
Right.
Then, yeah, this is
a
hard.
date.
Right.
You don't eat ice cream.
This is a date.
Yeah.
Yes.
Come on.
Right.
All right, Dave, why don't we take a break?
Okay.
Let's do that. We'll get some ice cream, and then we'll come back and we'll finish The Wedding Singer.
There you go.
Hey dudes, we know you like the show, so if you want more of what you like, please head over to our Instagram and Facebook accounts where we post additional stuff about the movies we cover.
That's right, everybody. And even though we've been the most active on Instagram and Facebook, we've also recently started doing a lot more with TikTok and Blue Sky. And our last 20 episodes have also been uploaded to our YouTube channel.
Yes, and along with the episodes on YouTube, we've also done some supplemental videos, and we plan to do a lot more soon. So please go to any of these accounts to hang out with us, and as always, thank you so much for listening. Finally here, Dave. The Dudes on Movies merch store is live.
Holy God, everybody. We now have apparel and other swag with our names and logo on it.
That's right, dudes. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, mugs, stickers, and that's about it for the moment, but still, it's a lot of what you want.
Yes, and what better way to tell the world about your favorite podcast than to walk around town repping our names? For the shirts, the store even allows you to pick your colors so you can make it in your own style.
Well, how about that? So if you guys want to support us, please head over to dudesonmovies.com/merch. We'd really appreciate it. All right, Dave, we're back. Finished our ice cream.
Yeah.
And now let's talk about a scene that is entirely forced and ridiculous. This is when there's a kiss. They talk about if you have to have tongue when you're kissing at church. Well, at the wedding, not just church in general, right?
I mean, at church, that's a given.
Yeah, you gotta have tongue at church. But no, Julia and Holly are discussing the wedding kiss, right? What do you do? Do you do open mouth? Do you do a nice little peck, in front of God and everybody, or a little tongue? And they're debating about this.
And there's nothing to debate. I'm sorry. There is no room for tongues at a wedding kiss.
I think you could have a tiny bit.
I don't think you can.
You have a little tiny.
Your parents are there.
They can watch.
They shouldn't watch.
Well, I guess there is a debate.
Yes, I guess there is. Yeah, right.
All right, so they're debating this. Christine Taylor just wants basically a full-on orgy at the church.
I mean, yeah,
is her
exactly,
thing. In the movie, she's characterized as a slut.
Yeah,
like she's
right.
apparently sleeps with everyone at work.
Uh-huh.
She's really easy. So like she's not opposed to any tongue. And Julia she's arguing like no tongue, and then she kind of says, okay, maybe a little. And while they're arguing this, Robbie comes in because he has to bring her jacket or something from earlier when they were doing their non-date.
Uh-huh.
So
spent the day together and had ice cream.
Yeah.
That's a date.
So Christine Taylor now is like, well, what do you mean a little church tongue? She calls it church tongue, which, by the way, no one should ever say the phrase church tongue. So she's like, you need to show me. Just show me what church tongue is. So Drew Barrymore goes in to kiss her, and she's like, no, not me. Oh, hey, Robbie, why don't you do it? Oh, we're all adults, huh? This scene, God, it is so poorly written, I think. Like, Christine Taylor has to do magic with these lines. Yeah. And she's kind of doing it, but not really. It's still bad.
Right.
But she's bending over backwards to make this script not be the worst thing ever.
Because imagine yourself in this scenario, in any of the roles, whether you're Holly, Robbie, or Julia, like, there is no winning here. Anytime three people get together and one of them suggests the other two kiss each other.
Yeah, it's like the Dreamers or something.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Michael Pitt walks in.
Yes.
I'll take it.
Well, I'll take it too if Eva Green wanted to show up. Yeah, no doubt. But like, it's just that, like, if you say this, you can't say, oh, look, we're all adults here. It's not sexual in any way. Well, obviously
Wait a minute.
Yes.
No, hold your horses.
Right.
I guess Robbie and Julia are too, like, timid to refuse or something. Julia, you're getting married.
I know.
You can't just practice your wedding kiss on the other cute guy that you just had a non-date with.
It's too much. It's, like, completely unacceptable.
And Holly, come on. How dumb are you? Come on. You can't do this. So they end up kissing and doing church tongue. And the movie presents the kiss as this is the most magical kiss ever, and it's a really good kiss.
Sure.
It is a good kiss moment for a romantic comedy. And Holly is just like, she's lost her breath. Like, oh my God, that's good. Do that.
Which, honestly, I mean, like, this has to go somewhere. If you tell people to kiss and then they do it, and then you sit there and go, oh my God. I mean, like it's leading places.
Well, it does lead her to want to bang Robbie now. Like,
Sure.
Holly wants Robbie now.
Well, yeah, but like, but that's not. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Other than like, this is a highly sexually charged scene.
It is.
And
Glenn
like,
shows up and ruins it. That's
yes,
the thing.
He throws cold water on it immediately because he's just Glenn.
These three would be in a bathtub somewhere if he didn't show up.
It should be the Dreamers, but then this fucking Zero shows up
With a CD player.
Yes.
And he doesn't know anything that's happened. Like, he just walks in, hey guys, got a CD player.
Yes, and like at one point he goes to set it up, and like Julia goes, I'll put a record on it. He goes, no, it's a CD player.
God, Julia.
Yeah. He doesn't understand that like CD players are considerably like less quality, with the sound and all that.
Yeah, but it's the cool, expensive thing. CD player in 1985? Dude.
Yeah.
So he goes to set it up, and then Holly and Julia sit on the couch, both like totally flabbergasted. Oh my God, that was the best kiss in the entire world. Oh my God.
Right.
Even Julia's like heart is pounding from this.
Because she must have noticed the spark that we all noticed, but even before they kissed each other, and now they have. And so she's thinking about it. And then Holly, because the script wants her to be really dumb, like didn't notice the obvious, chemistry between them. And, oh no, I like Robbie. And I like him because I watched you kiss him.
Ooh, man.
What the fuck?
I want that movie. Dave, I want The Wedding Dreamers. That's what I want.
It is all here.
When she says, you think he'll go out with me, Julia gets kind of visibly upset.
Yes.
And she knows in her heart, oh my God, I'm in love with Robbie.
Right.
And then as soon as Christine Taylor wants Robbie, she's like, oh my God, no, please don't. But she says, yeah, go for it. Yeah,
right.
Fine. And then this is where there was that deleted scene I was talking about.
Okay.
Because in the regular cut, it like smash cuts to their double date at the nightclub. I believe that's what it does.
Yes.
But here we get a scene where Robbie is exercising with Rosie, the old lady.
Physical exercising?
She's lifting weights because you have to be hot and sexy for your husband.
Oh, wow.
And that's kind of the joke. That, and you got to make sure the other men, want you so your husband knows you're great and stuff. So she's doing more inappropriate stuff.
Oh.
And then she starts talking about Robbie's penis. How, like, she was there at his bris. And she said, you had something going on. It was little, but it was there. And it goes on like this for 2 minutes. It's almost a 5-minute scene, actually.
Oh, my gosh.
And she's talking about the shape of it and all kinds of crap. And then Julia shows up in the middle of it, and you get a whole awkward 2 minutes of her asking Robbie to do the double date. And they're both just really awkward around each other.
Okay.
It's a totally pointless scene.
Wow. So she, I mean, I hate to bury the lead, but like, I know you talk about the bris and all that stuff, but like Julia shows up to like ask Robbie out for Holly?
Yeah. Hey, do you want to go on a double date with Holly and then me and Glenn?
Okay.
And they're both kind of just like really awkward about it.
Got it.
Because they don't. They want to go on a date with each other.
I mean, yes.
And I think they use like a clip of this in the montage in the regular version of the film.
Uh-huh.
Like Rosie's doing like tricep curls or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
they just repurposed it.
They just took a clip, like a 3-second shot, and put it in the montage.
And we forgot to mention during the montage too, there was something that like we've probably made just jokes with each other about, where like someone, I think George is trying on dresses.
Yeah.
And she comes out and like Alan Covert, Adam Sandler, Christine Taylor, and Drew Barrymore are sitting there, and they're just like, they kind of shake their head.
They're doing like the yes and no to the wedding dress.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then George comes out, another one. They're like, and it's like a perfect thing to do in a montage.
Yeah.
Is people trying on clothes and other people giving their instant reviews.
It's a trope, man.
It is, right?
It's good though.
Yes.
And then George is like, "Oh yeah, she's so happy that
Right.
this is the dress." It's good. So we do end up at the date finally because
Yeah.
the scene was cut, thankfully.
Right.
But they're at this nightclub and Holly is all over Robbie. She's dressed up like Madonna,
Yep.
looking great, and Glenn is eyeballing other women the whole time. Julia is getting smashed.
Yes.
She is just drinking and drinking. And we've already learned she's told us she doesn't like to drink.
Right.
So she's upset.
Yep.
Robbie's uncomfortable because Christine Taylor's feeling all over him. And Glenn's just doing whatever he wants to do.
Right.
Being an asshole.
And then at some point, Julia gets up from the booth because like she's eyeing how Holly is all over Robbie. So she gets up on the table to like
Yeah.
step over to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, 'cause she's going to get sick.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she brings Holly with her. And now it's Robbie and Glenn by themselves.
Oh, man.
And all is revealed.
Yes, because Robbie starts to small talk him, like you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really going anywhere because Glenn is preoccupied by checking out this waitress.
Yep.
And Robbie sees what's happening eventually, and then he baits him. He says, "Oh, yeah, that's a sweet grade A choice of meat," or something like that,
Yep.
And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'd take a bite out of that." He knows he's got Glenn talking now.
Right, right.
And so he goes on about how, yeah, you used to get women like that back in the day. And he's like, "No, try like 10 days ago." So now it's revealed he's cheating on her.
Yep.
And he's like, "Well, that's going to stop when you get married now, right? The party's got to end." And nope, I work long hours and I work in the city.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's just the worst.
Yep.
And Robbie, he just freely admits it to Robbie. First off, this guy's an idiot. You can't do that.
No, yeah, if you didn't want to get caught, you wouldn't just tell a random
Not that
guy.
I'm condoning this behavior, but if
No.
you're going to do it, don't be an idiot.
This is the kind of thing he would admit to his good friends, but not to some guy he just
Yeah,
barely
like the
met.
Bruno Kirby lookalike he's hanging out
Yes,
with.
that dude. Good Lord.
Yeah. So, yeah, in this scene, we already hated Glenn.
Right.
Now we really hate Glenn,
Yes.
right? Yeah. They just pile it on.
Right. They make him completely unlikable.
Yeah. So now they come back. They have to leave because Julia's completely sick. She can't even stand up, really.
Mm-hmm.
So Glenn goes to get his car, which is a DeLorean. And Robbie's like helping Julia stand outside the club, and it's really sweet. He's like taking care of her, like being attentive to her needs.
Right.
And then the fucking DeLorean pulls up, and the wing comes up, and like Miami Vice music is playing.
Dude, I mean, when the Jan Hammer came out, it was like...
And Glenn was wearing like that white tuxedo earlier with like the pink shirt. Yeah.
It was a really snappy Don Johnson outfit.
It looked good.
It did,
He looked
yes.
great in that.
I know. He really pulls it off.
They were making fun of him, but he looked great.
It's a great look. The Sonny Crockett look.
I wish I could pull that off.
I know.
I don't think I could.
I think you have to live in Miami to make it work.
Probably.
That's number one.
Or you have to be extremely handsome.
That too. Yeah, and man, Miami Vice is a great show, everybody, by the way. Check it out.
Yeah, lots of great suits in that show.
Yes.
Tons of great guest stars. Every episode's got like an A-lister as a guest star. It's
It
crazy.
was the stars came out
Dude.
for Miami Vice.
Yeah, so he like says something to her like, "Don't puke in the car."
Yeah.
It'll smell for a week.
Right. Be careful. Don't
Yeah.
puke in the
He's
car.
more concerned about the car than his fiance, you know.
Right.
So, and then Robbie goes home with Christine Taylor now, back to his house, and they're on the front like porch or whatever, talking about, the end of the date type stuff. You're gonna come up or do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she tells him straight up like, "Hey, I know you're hurting, I know you're confused, so I'll make it real easy for you. If you come in with me, you're gonna get laid." And he's like, "Oh wow, wasn't expecting that." Which no one ever expects that. That's not how it works out.
It's not.
I've tried that once, and it backfires. I didn't do it exactly how she did, but I was a little too forward about it.
Okay,
And
right.
yeah, it doesn't work.
I wish it did work more often. I wish
Yeah.
that we could be that forward with each other. It would make things a little easier.
Yeah.
And the problem is, even if you offer someone free sex no strings. It's not always the easiest thing to accept.
Right, it's not.
Because there are strings. And it doesn't matter if someone says that, oh, look, this is just, we are going to full on, we're adults here. We're going to do this. No, that's not how that works.
I guess that's how Holly thinks,
But I don't even think she does. I think that she likes Robbie. And when she offers herself up to him like that and says, you're going to get laid right tonight. I mean, she's catching feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not a completely complications-free exchange here. So I'm glad Robbie actually comes to a sense of, oh, you know what? I probably shouldn't fuck Holly.
Yeah, and he says hey, he turns her down in a very nice way.
He does.
Basically I don't think I should, or I can't. He has some excuse.
Right.
And then he says something about because she had mentioned that Julia's going to spend the night at Glenn's, and he says something about, does she spend the night there a lot? He's thinking about Julia.
Yes.
When Christine Taylor has just offered herself to him. And the first thing he's thinking about is, where's Drew Barrymore?
Well, and I like that Holly immediately realizes it. Oh, my God, you like Julia.
She sees it right away.
Right.
I mean, it's only been here for, 68 minutes.
Yeah, I shouldn't have given her that much credit. She should have noticed it long ago. But yes, it's good that she at least comes to her senses.
It's very obvious at this point. Oh, yeah, you have a thing for Julia.
Right.
Yeah, and he doesn't deny it or anything. It's out.
Yeah.
And I think earlier, Alan Covert had said something to him too about it. Oh my God, you really like her, don't you? So everyone knows now.
The whole town knows. Yes.
Everyone who has walked past them on the sidewalk knows they need to get married.
I mean, it's yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. So we cut to the next morning and Julia's got a bad hangover. Like a killer rager in the head. And Christine Taylor tells her about the date with Robbie. Says that they kissed each other and that was it. And Julia's very concerned who kissed who, because if Robbie kissed her, she'll be upset.
Oh yeah.
Nope, she kissed him and she's happy about that.
And I think during the exchange before the next morning, I think that's where Holly also said something to Robbie about why Julia is with Glenn.
Oh yeah,
for security and rich and he's wealthy.
Nothing about love.
Right.
Something about that. And she also says something about how everyone cares about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because they care about the money, they care about security. It's not about love. It's basically what she's saying.
Right.
And so Robbie's really kind of upset and put off by that. And he thinks that's what Julia's like now because Holly had told him.
And that makes him an idiot.
It does. Because you can tell.
Yes. It's just one of those, at its most base level, a script problem where you go, okay, if you want me to care about these characters, you can't make them this dense.
Right. And this is the beginning of the whole misunderstanding that we get in these films.
I mean, and it's
5-minute wait.
And this 5-minute wait is about 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Of movie time. And I mean, it is I can't take it. I can't take it.
It's a long one.
It is.
Because they build it up from all sides. Because here at breakfast, she tells Julia that's what she told Robbie. And Julia's upset. That's not why I'm marrying Glenn.
Right.
And Holly says, well, then why are you? And she doesn't have an answer again. And she realizes, oh, fuck. I don't love this guy.
Right. And God damn it, Holly, if Julia never said those things, then why the hell did you say it to Robbie?
She's just assuming.
Come on.
Dude, come on. Well, you know why? It's probably because everyone around Julia can tell she doesn't they don't love each other.
Well, yeah.
You can tell.
Right, it's obvious,
It's the same with her and Robbie. You can tell.
Yep.
Yeah. So obviously that's why they're getting married. There's no spark there.
Right.
So she just feels obliged to say it. Maybe you shouldn't be saying that.
He proposed to her and they were together, and that's the thing. I'll say yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And so now Robbie wants to get a job in the city and make money like Glenn, I guess.
Right.
You get a quick scene of him interviewing with Kevin Nealon at the bank which is kind of funny, but it's really like there's no real reason to have this scene.
I know you could definitely cut it, but like there are a couple of funny moments where he's trying to become an investment banker, and he's never gone to college. He has no experience. He has no business training.
Yeah,
and he wants to like start at the top.
Yeah, and he's like, at the end when he gets denied, he's like, well, can you just give me some business cards or something? I just need to impress a girl. Kevin Nealon's just like pointing at the door the whole time. He's like, I'll give you free singing lessons if you just give me one business card.
Which, I don't know, I think that's actually a pretty
good deal. That's a good deal.
Yes.
Come on, Kevin Nealon.
Right.
So he shows up at his house and Julia's waiting for him. And he's in his suit and stuff. And, you know, he just got back from his interview.
Right.
And they get into a big argument about, like, how she's marrying Glenn, and Robbie thinks he's an asshole, and now he thinks Julia's obsessed with material things and stuff like that. And Julia's mad at him because all the stuff he's saying, and now he's, like, trying to be someone he's not, apparently. And they get in a big, big fight about it.
And she calls him an asshole, and she throws this sheet music that she'd made for him up into the air, and it goes flying. And he picks it up, and he sees it says, "Words and Music" by Robbie Hart.
Oh, man.
And he goes, "Oh, my God, she made me a present. I am an asshole."
You're right.
You're fucking A right.
Yeah.
And you need to start running right now and go get her.
Immediately. Don't go to the bar with Alan Covert.
Doing? Don't ever go to a bar with Alan Covert. But, you know...
No, you don't drink with Grandma's boy. You don't do it. Oh my God. So yeah, he shows up at the bar and they're sitting there drinking, talking about all the shit, you know. And he tells him, he reveals to Sammy, like, hey, I am totally in love with Julia and there's nothing I can do about it. She's going to marry that asshole Glenn.
Right.
And that's it. And you know what? I'm going to be just like you, Sammy. I'm going to have a different chick every night. Then the next morning, they're gone. I'll pay for their cab because I'm a nice guy like that. But after that, they're gone.
Right.
And I'll be happy like you. And then Sammy reveals, this is probably the only, like, good moment, respectable moment of Sammy in the film.
Yeah.
Where he's like, dude, I'm not happy. I'm miserable, man. All I want is to find someone to love me and just to tell me it'll be okay. But I don't have that. And he talks about how he idolized Fonzie and shit like that. And
right.
Like, you get older, no one wants to see an old guy hitting on chicks and stuff. And it's good insight.
Yeah, he's Sammy is much more self-aware than we all thought.
Yeah. So it's good advice.
Even though he still parades around in that stupid jacket.
Thriller jacket?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's not good. And he's wearing a glove, like Michael.
At one point, he wears the one silver glove, and like I'm glad that Robbie tells him take that off.
Yeah, you can't wear that.
No way, dude.
Come on. Christine Taylor could get away with the Madonna look.
Sure.
Alan Covert can't do the Michael Jackson look.
No, he
not allowed.
cannot. Right.
Oh my God. And so, there's also the old guy at the bar too, who I love. The actor is Carmen Philby.
Yeah.
He's been in a lot of Sandler things and a lot of other things like character roles and stuff.
Yeah, he's played an old man in a lot of stuff. I mean,
since he started out, I guess.
Yeah.
But he's the drunk old guy who's talking about prostitutes at the bar and like giving bad advice. But he's like hanging out with Alan Covert and Adam Sandler at the bar. Like he's just like the old like local who's there all the time, and now he's hanging out with these guys.
And dude, this bar they're at, like I don't drink anymore, obviously, but like I'm still nostalgic for dank bars and pool halls.
Right?
Yeah.
I can smell the cigarettes in this place.
The other day I went somewhere, it was like downtown Overland, and I was stopped at the light, and Just Bill's place was there. Man, it is this place.
Yeah.
And like I see these two old bastards playing pool and smoking cigarettes. I'm like, I want to be in there with that wood paneling.
Dude, this is where the vampires killed the people in Near Dark.
Exactly.
This is the place.
Yes, that's right. Maybe Jeanette Goldstein's there.
Right. Oh my God. But yeah, they're here and they go, like there's a couple scenes happening this night like that are overlapping. Like we got them at the bar, but we also cut over to Julia with her mom. And she's sitting there in her wedding dress and she's crying and upset. She's confused about, you know, the wedding with Glenn. And I think this is Drew's best scene in the movie. I love this scene. She's sitting there with her mom saying, I don't know if I love Glenn anymore. I think I'm in love with Robbie. And the mom tries to comfort her, but she doesn't really do a great job. She falls back onto that, like, you're going to have security with Glenn, you know?
Right.
I wish I never married your dad, but we went through with it. That kind of shit.
Right.
It's not really helpful. And so she's left on her own, and Julia's looking in the mirror, and she's talking to herself as if she's, like, meeting wedding guests or something. And we found out earlier at the bar that Glenn's last name is Gulia.
Yeah.
So Julia's name is going to be Julia Gulia. And Adam Sandler makes a joke about it. And I find that part really funny when he says that. But so she's looking in the mirror now and she's like, hi, welcome, I'm Mrs. Julia Gulia. And when she's delivering this, she's all upset. And when she says Gulia, she just starts crying her eyes out. And she realizes this is just all wrong. And so she like starts pretending otherwise. She's talking to herself in the mirror and she starts smiling. Hey, I'm Mrs. Julia Hart. You know, pretending she's marrying Robbie, and she lights up. She's all smiles, all happy, and extremely excited.
And here comes Robbie walking down the street.
Ugh.
He had left the bar, and because he was all now like psyched up that he's going to go get Julia.
Yeah.
And he sees her from the street in the window, looking in the mirror, all happy and talking to herself.
Yeah.
And he misconstrues it. He thinks that because she's wearing her wedding dress and she's smiling in the mirror, this must mean she's happy about marrying Glenn.
Yeah.
So he gives up.
Yeah.
That's quite a leap.
He goes back to the bar.
How?
He walked all the way here.
You make major life decisions based on someone's facial expressions.
Yeah. You came here to talk to her. Talk to her
Talk
then.
to her. Right.
Don't just
make an effort. God damn.
God damn.
It's
yeah,
like,
the weight.
yes.
The weight.
It just continues and it festers.
There's like maggots crawling on this
I
thing.
know, exactly. It is starting to decay. It's like the hunger.
Dude, there's like all kinds of rotten corpses up in the attic where Julia is.
Exactly.
She's talking to one of them.
Oh, no.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he goes back to the bar, and he starts hanging out with the guys again, you know, and Alan Covert's doing the moonwalk with the old man.
Of course
and all
he
that.
is, yes.
And that actually had me laugh pretty good, like when the old man was doing the moonwalk.
I liked his attempt because it's like bad.
Because it's a real bad attempt.
Yes.
Like his moves are real jostled.
Right.
Like I really liked it. I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, that's pretty funny. And so Robbie brought his own alcohol, and so they get kicked out. Well, asked to leave to drink it somewhere else. But
Yeah.
So they go outside to drink it, and down comes from the sidewalk Glenn with his buddies and a bunch of women, and they're all wasted, all drinking and partying, got their arms around the girls. You know, they're having like a pre-bachelor party. And they like run into each other.
Mm-hmm.
And Robbie doesn't like this, of course. And he tells Glenn to cut the shit out, you know? Treat Julia right.
Right.
Stop with all the cheating, you asshole. He really gives it to him.
He does.
Which he deserves.
He stands up to Glenn. And unfortunately, though, like, I can't remember if it was the old man or Alan Covert. One of them interferes.
The old man tries to punch Glenn in the face, and he does. But he's so old and frail that nothing happens.
That's right. It's a glancing blow.
I think he says, I used to be a lot stronger.
Yes.
It's pretty funny, too, because it comes out of nowhere.
Right.
And, like, it just, like, lands on his cheek. He doesn't even move. So then this gives Glenn time to retaliate. He just punches Robbie right in the face.
And you're expecting that, like, Glenn is going to get the better of Robbie if they fight one another. I mean,
Yeah.
if you were to, like, you know, just line them up, okay, I think Glenn's a bigger guy.
Yeah. Unless Robbie knows some kind of martial arts or
Right.
something, like, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. And then that's the end of the fight. I think Alan Covert, like, runs in, but they all get, like, stopped, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a hockey fight that's being broken up.
Pretty much.
And Glenn teases him a little about, like, keeping his business to himself or something. I think he says you can write a song about this called I Got Punched in the Nose for Sticking My Face in Other People's Business.
I've known some assholes before, and they usually hang around other assholes, but like adults getting together like this, and they're all just like pointing and laughing at someone who's laying on the ground bleeding.
Adult bullies
Yeah.
are ridiculous.
Wow. I hope that they don't exist in this form and this big of a gang together like this. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure they do, but like, holy shit.
They're real, man.
Yeah, they are. It's all too real.
It sucks. So Robbie stumbles home, and wouldn't you know it, Linda is there waiting for him on the front porch. And she's looking real sexy.
Uh-huh. And
And-
she is?
And she is.
Yep.
And she brings him inside, takes care of him.
Yes. And now, let me ask you this. Did they have sex?
I don't know. I
Okay.
feel like they probably didn't because he seemed way too gone. Like, Robbie was shit-faced.
Yeah.
I know guys can still do it like that, but it's a lot harder. Like, I imagine they did not have sex.
Right.
She probably just took care of him, probably laid there. She probably tried, but it didn't work.
Gotcha.
That's my instinct on it.
See, I thought something similar because at first it had been a long time since I'd seen the movie. So when she showed up like at the door when Julia shows up the next morning and she's
Yeah.
like in the Van Halen t-shirt, I thought, "Oh man, Robbie, you didn't.
Yeah.
You know, tell me you didn't actually fall for this."
Yeah.
And then when she gets back downstairs and, you know, like tries to wake him up, he seems really like, "Oh my God, what are you doing here?"
Yeah, he's shocked. Like,
Right.
Linda, what are you doing here?
Right.
Yeah. And she's like, well, don't you remember I told you last night? Well, of course he doesn't remember.
Right.
You saw him.
Yes.
And she's playing it off like everything's fine now because she's back.
Right.
She's like, it's okay. You know, I can learn to deal with you just being a wedding singer, and I can learn to live here in this town. And he gets pissed. He's like, no, that's not how it works.
Right.
I don't want you to have to learn to be with me. That's ridiculous. Get the fuck out of my Van Halen t-shirt before something bad happens to the band. Yeah. And I think this was the year like they broke up or whatever. David Lee Roth left.
Yeah.
I think it was 85. So.
Yes. And yeah, it happens like right after after he makes the comment. Yes.
You're gonna curse the band.
Right. And also in 1998, that was like right after they had gotten back together again.
Okay.
And then that failed because
Yeah.
like David Lee Roth acted like an asshole and Eddie Van Halen didn't like it.
Okay, so they were acting like they normally do.
Pretty much. Yeah. They can't be in the same room together, really.
So yeah, this is over. Like she gets kicked out immediately. Like,
Yep.
Like no, there's not even a second guess. He's not like, oh well, maybe we'll get together again. No,
Right.
He's done. He's over it. He's gotten over it, and
And
now he needs Julia.
Yes, and when Julia had come to the door and saw like Linda there, then she got the wrong idea and decided in that moment she's gonna go marry Glenn.
Oh my god.
Out of spite, I guess.
Yeah, she runs over to Glenn's house where he's sleeping in his like leopard skin underwear.
He's got a freaking Speedo on.
It's great. He's laying like face down with his like leopard skin ass. But she runs in and he's laying there hungover as all could be, I'm sure,
Yeah.
after that night before. And she's like, Glenn, let's get married right now. Let's go to Vegas. Which I don't buy that this character would say this at all.
Never.
And like they had been planning this forever. Oh my god. Because I'm not in love with you, but I'm in love with this other guy. I'm going to make him mad. I'm going to marry you now.
Remember in Young Adult when Patton Oswalt like tries to get
Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron to back off of the whole of getting with Patrick Wilson.
Yeah.
And Patrick mentions he has a kid, and he goes, "Oh wow, yeah, what a great lifetime commitment that is." You know?
Yes.
It's like this.
Exactly.
Like you're gonna do like something to piss somebody off, but you have to like be indebted to them for the rest of your life.
Yeah. It's stupid.
It's so dumb.
really stupid. And so it feels out of character. I know she's been struggling with her feelings throughout the whole film, right?
Right.
But she's already gotten through them.
And if you decide that, like, okay, well, I can't be with Robbie, then I don't want to be with Glenn. I mean, you know, like,
right.
Then you break it off with Glenn and go start a new life.
Exactly. Go be with Alan Covert.
I mean,
well, don't.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, that's right. Alan Covert nor Frank Severo.
You and Holly go find Michael Pitt. That's
There
what you do.
go. Oh my gosh, yes. Now you're talking.
There we go. So yeah, now I guess we get a scene of Rosie's wedding. She's or her anniversary celebration.
Yes.
It's the 50th anniversary.
It's really nice.
She doesn't talk about dicks or anything in this scene.
Right.
It's actually sweet. She's singing "Till There Was You." It's a great version she's doing, and her voice is great.
I love how they let her sing the song
Because it sounds like a 70-year-old woman singing,
Right.
and it's so beautiful.
And I love the guy, the old man sitting there. He's like just he's so emotional about it, and
He's looking at her like he did 50 years ago.
yeah, he's so touched by this.
It's awesome.
It's really nice.
And it's ruined by another horrendous bit of writing, where after the song's over, Robbie looks at Alan Covert and he goes, "I'll get the car," because they both know we're gonna go get Julia.
Yeah.
And then he goes over to Rosie. Robbie says, "Hey, I've got to go," and she's like, "I know, go get her." Everyone in this celebration has been thinking about Robbie better go get Julia the whole time.
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
we all know
Yeah.
instinctually we're going.
Right.
It's so lazy and stupid.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been at the front of anyone's mind.
No. And then, conveniently, Holly runs in and reveals that they're on an airplane going to Vegas.
Right.
And so now they go to the airport.
And I know we've been talking about how like the whole town can see that are meant to be together, but like they wouldn't be thinking about it every day.
Exactly.
Unless they saw them together.
Right. And we do have to mention, this is the moment where Rosie sings Rapper's Delight.
Yeah.
And it's, it is funny.
It is.
And it's cute.
Right, because she actually serves the lyric very well.
Yep. Just like her voice, it served Till There Was You.
Sure.
It serves Rapper's Delight. She's just a natural, Dave.
I know she's got she's got real showmanship.
Yep. So then we cut to the airport, and Robbie gets on the plane. He has a scene where he buys the ticket, and it's with a guy wearing a Flock of Seagulls haircut.
Yeah.
And I read this guy was supposed to be played by Chris Farley.
Oh.
But Chris Farley was in rehab at that point, and the studio wouldn't let him be in the film, which was
Wow.
unfortunate because I think he died like a couple months after.
I mean, it
this
was
film
shortly
came out.
after,
Like,
yeah.
So this could have been one of his last roles if he was in it.
Wow.
And
Okay.
it's really sad. Adam Sandler fought for him to have it, but they would not give it to him.
Okay.
Which is that's a real bummer.
It is,
So-
yes.
But could you imagine Chris Farley in a Flock of Seagulls?
I mean, I think that when I first saw the movie, I didn't know what to make of this scene because I didn't know the guy was going to mention a flock of seagulls.
Yeah, it's really weird.
I thought he was just going to like have this hairdo,
and that's the joke. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Oh, look, he's got the Flock of Seagulls
Right.
haircut. That's 80s.
Because like if you weren't in Flock of Seagulls, you didn't have this hairdo.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
No, I mean that's the only time I've ever seen it.
Yeah, and because the guy says, "Do you like Flock of Seagulls?"
Yes.
And then Robbie says, "No, but I can tell you do."
Uh-huh.
And that's another one of those "I'm too cool" jokes.
Of course it is,
Which
yeah.
I'm just like, shut up and get on the plane,
It's
please.
it's getting there. Like that persona that we don't like is like forming here.
Yep.
And also the way they get into the airport and they're able to just run up to the counter and like buy a ticket right then and there. And then I mean it was this pre 9/11
Yeah.
airport life.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
not quite parallax view,
Yes,
but it's
right.
like you can't just run on the plane with your cigarette,
dude.
but like you could just run up and get a ticket real quick and get on the plane.
That is so outrageous what happens in that movie.
1970,
Good
Come
Lord.
on. But yeah, so he gets the ticket, he gets on the plane, and it's first class because they had nothing else.
Yes, and he got the first class ticket because Alan Covert loaned him his credit card.
Yes, and he threatened him. He's like, "You gonna pay me back?" No, but if you don't give me the credit card, I'm gonna tell everyone what you said at the bar.
Yes.
And so he gives it to him. And then
Right.
Christine Taylor thinks he's so sweet for giving him the credit card.
Man,
These people.
I know it's just too.
If
man.
you say thank you to someone, Holly will have sex with you.
that's the implication.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's ridiculous, and I found it funny when she started to like go after him in that moment because
Yeah.
it's so stupid. But he ends up on the plane, and it's the same plane that Julia and Glenn are on, but they don't know it.
And when you say first class, this is like beyond first class.
Oh my
It's-
gosh.
I've never been on an airplane that had an upstairs before.
I've never been on an airplane where I could stand up all the way.
At the same
It's
exactly.
crazy.
I know, right. If you're more than 5 feet tall, you're really struggling.
Dude. So, yeah, he's in first class, and so is Billy Idol. He's like starts talking to everyone on the plane about the situation, tells them the whole story,
Yes.
and like how he's on this plane to go get to Vegas to stop the wedding and this kind of stuff.
It's a really also just the idea of getting on a plane to Las Vegas to try and track her down and get her. I mean, there are tons of wedding chapels in Las Vegas.
Where are you gonna go,
Right.
man? I mean, he's desperate. He needs to stop this. But
But even that level of desperation, you can. Well, you're screwed.
you're screwed.
Right.
It's a needle in a haystack,
Right,
dude.
And I mean, they mention Ridgefield, that the name of the town is Ridgefield. They're in New Jersey. They're presumably going to Newark International Airport. You know how many flights to Vegas every day go out of Newark?
Yeah, probably a ton.
He's not going to get on the same plane as Julia and Glenn.
Right? They're just that lucky, right?
Ugh.
Like, they must have just... I don't know. Christine Taylor must have ran to the place to tell him immediately.
It had to be
like,
it.
I
Right.
don't
Right.
know. But very lucky he's on this plane.
Yes.
And we don't know it yet.
And
But
he doesn't know it yet either.
Nobody knows it yet.
Right.
And so, like, Julia and Glenn are sitting there, and Glenn's being an asshole, of course. Won't give her the window seat. Asks her to get him something to drink when the bar cart comes around. And she just doesn't look happy with her decision right now.
Yeah.
Which you shouldn't be.
And he says at one point, listen, I'll tell you what I'll do. When we get closer to the strip, and the plane's touching down, I'll let you lean over and you can check it out the window. How about
It's
that?
the same thing he did at the beginning when he seems, okay, maybe he's not a bad guy.
Right.
No, he actually is.
Yes. And they're not making him into like the kind of bad guy who yells and screams and acts like says and puts her down and stuff like that. He's just
Yeah.
that other kind of like subtle bad guy who's doing horrible things behind her back. But to her face, he's like, because at one point he even says, like, when he's telling Robbie about why he's marrying her, well, hey, look, she earned it.
Yeah, she's been with me for 4 years.
Right.
And I know I can trust her. She was with me before I got my money.
Yep.
Yeah, she earned it, basically. Like,
It's
what?
It's really twisted
It's stupid.
logic.
It's
Right.
not. Yeah, and Robbie's even like, but also you love her, right? Like,
right.
that kind of shit.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess.
And
You know?
there's tons of marriages that are based on this kind of arrangement.
It's true.
Right.
It happens way too often.
Yes.
And it shouldn't. But Robbie tells everyone the story, and everyone's rooting for him,
Yep.
right? And Billy Idol's even saying, like, Glenn doesn't deserve her, and that he has a bunch of lines in the movie that are supposed to be funny. They kind of are.
Yeah, he sells it pretty well.
Yeah. A stewardess comes out of the, like, coach section and says, you guys won't believe what's happening. This guy just told me I had like a grade A choice 10 ass and he wants to take a bite out of it or something.
Uh-huh.
And then Robbie immediately knows, oh my God, that's Glenn, because that's exactly what he said at the fucking bar.
Uh-huh.
So he tells everyone, that's them. He looks back and sees them through the curtain. And then they formulate a plan. I guess he's going to sing a song that he just wrote. On the way to the airport, he actually wrote the song.
wrote
Do you
the
remember?
song
He
on
like
the way.
asked Alan Covert for a piece of paper or
Yeah,
something. Like,
yeah.
I got an idea for a song. So he gets Billy Idol's guitar and starts singing a song through the speaker system.
Right. Billy makes an announcement over the attention passengers, here's this song that's coming up. And yeah, you hear like Robbie's voice on the intercom, and like Julia looks up and she knows that it's him.
She hears his voice and recognizes it.
Right.
And he's singing this really sweet love song about, basically about her.
Yeah.
And how he wants to grow old with her. Because she mentioned that earlier at their ice cream not a date. And he used it as the main lyric.
Yeah.
So, and it's a very sweet song. And after like partway through the first verse, he comes out of the curtain and he's singing and like kind of just slowly walking towards her. And Glenn sees him and gets up and it's like, what the hell is that freak doing here, And he gets up and he's trying to get to him, but the like stewardesses and stuff like got the bar cart and they're like pushing Glenn around. He can't get to him. And at one point he says something to Billy Idol, like, get
Yeah.
out of my way, Billy Idol, or some crap
It's
like
like because the cart is now manned by Billy Idol.
Yeah.
And Glenn goes, hey, listen, Billy, you better get out of my way. You're going to get hurt. And Billy makes a wanking motion at him because this biker dude gets up and gets between them. And I guess Glenn gets scared.
Yeah, like, don't talk to Billy Idol like that.
Uh-huh.
And then he like pushes him into the bathroom.
And then one of the flight attendants like pushes him out of the plane?
I don't think he's out of the plane.
Oh, okay.
I think he's just trapped in the bathroom.
Got it.
I
Okay.
think that's what it is.
Well, it's like she kind of like
she murders Glenn.
she came back with like dusting her hands off, like, and that's that.
No, I think he gets pushed in the lavatory, like because the cart
okay,
pushes
okay.
him back to where like the snacks in the bathroom
I
are, and then
gotcha.
the other lady like pushes him to the side.
Well, that's pretty good, but it's not enough of a punishment for Glenn. And I'm not saying
Well,
he should have like.
he needs to die. He needs to drop 30,000 feet.
Yeah, that's extreme. You're
Actually,
right.
how would she can't push him out? Like the whole plane would go
True.
down.
We'd all be suctioned.
Everyone would. What an ending! You're not growing old together at all.
No,
You are dead.
Wow.
At least they confessed their love before they died.
I mean, yeah, they got together.
Yeah, it worked out in the end.
Right.
Everyone's happy. So, yeah, Glenn is incapacitated. He's not dead.
Right.
But he finishes the song, and the whole plane is tearing up. They're all cheering. Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
And they're going to kiss. And then Billy Idol butts in and says something to him like, hey, I'm going to tell the record execs about you and
Right.
your song. And he's like, okay, but can I kiss her first?
Yeah.
Which I think is a pretty good line.
Yes.
Billy Idol's like, oh, yeah, go ahead. And they kiss. This might have been the one that won the MTV Movie Award.
Did it win the MTV Movie Award for Best Kiss?
It did.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
It beat out Titanic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's pretty huge.
Pretty huge, man. So, and then it fades into them kissing at the wedding. They're married now.
Yeah, marriage is a big step.
Do you think they shouldn't be getting married?
I don't think they should be getting married like the next day.
Is it the next day, though?
Well, I don't know. They don't give us any
I know. I
indication.
was thinking, is this like the wedding she planned for her and Glenn, and they just like inserted Robbie? Like,
yeah, exactly. And that's way too soon as well.
exactly.
I mean, they could date for 6 months.
I know. It could be. We don't get like a title card or anything that says like 6 months later
Yeah.
or 2 years later or anything. It just fades from kissing on the plane to kissing at the altar.
Right.
So, I mean, you can infer whatever length of time you want, but it seems immediate.
Yeah, I took it as immediate. Like this happened. They touched down, then they immediately went back home to Jersey and they got married.
That's what it seems like. Yep.
Yeah.
And so they're there. And that's basically the end of the movie. Like, Steve Buscemi is singing at their wedding for some reason. I don't know how he became the band. But I was happy to see Steve back because
you
I always
are.
want to see him.
Yes.
So, and they walk down the aisle and it freezes on them.
Right.
That's it. That's the wedding singer. Do you have anything else, Dave?
Well, one of the other writing partners for Adam Sandler is this guy, Tim Hurley. He's in the movie as the bartender who tells him that he can't bring the outside liquor in.
Yeah.
And Tim Hurley was the inspiration for one of my favorite early 90s Saturday Night Live bits. It was the Hurley Boy.
Okay.
It was like a commercial for a babysitting and dog walking service where Adam Sandler played a young man named Hurley, and he was asking you to hire him with the help of his father, played by Chris Farley. And the gag was that at the beginning of the commercial, like Farley as the dad is like asking you nicely to hire his son, but then as it goes on, he gets increasingly agitated like Chris Farley does.
Yeah.
And he just starts screaming, for God's sake, please hire the boy. He'll do a good job, that kind of thing. And it's so great because, like, I usually hate it when I hated it when Jimmy Fallon would, like, corpse during a sketch because he did it all the time.
It was all the time.
Yes. But when I watch Adam Sandler crack up when Chris Farley is, like, losing his shit, I can't help it. I think it's so funny. And, like, to watch him just stand there, like, trying not to laugh while Chris Farley goes off and is just like, the vein is popping out of his head. I mean, it's a classic Saturday Night Live bit. It rules, and it's the kind of comedy that I found really inspiring when I was 14.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Farley was really good at breaking people.
Dude. He did it to Christina Applegate, like, completely
and David
lost
stayed,
it. Yes.
like, on the couch,
Yes.
couldn't even hold it together. Yes. Jimmy Fallon just would laugh at every little thing. Yeah, I agree.
Like,
it was fine in some sketches where it was worthy of it.
Yes.
But not every single one.
At some point, he started to do it in almost every sketch he was in.
Yeah.
Really annoying.
So, speaking of writing, I read that Carrie Fisher helped write the script. She punched it up.
Carrie Fisher did a pass on this script?
Yes. She and Judd Apatow both had their hands on it without credit.
This is massive.
Yeah, and Carrie Fisher, I think the director said she worked on it for 6 months. I don't know if it was that long because she's not credited at all. But she helped develop, like, the Julia character to make her, actually strong and three-dimensional and stuff and interesting.
Okay.
I don't know why she has no credit, but
all right,
that's what has been said.
Well, patent pending for Dudes on Movies, I have an idea for a screenplay.
Okay.
It is an independent film in which Carrie Fisher and Judd Apatow are holed up in a hotel together writing this script.
Yes, fixing it.
Yes.
Making it tolerable.
Ana de Armas plays Carrie Fisher, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Patrick Wilson is Judd Apatow.
You know what? That actually kind of works.
I'm down.
Yes.
That would work. We're good. Patent pending, definitely.
Right.
But you can see, like, imagine if Julia's character wasn't as good as it is.
Right.
Like, man, that would really suck.
Yes, and I still think Drew Barrymore is like cool enough that she could make it work, but it definitely needed. I mean, obviously, Adam Sandler and his writing team didn't have the touch that they needed Carrie Fisher for.
Yep, they don't got the touch. I can't think about. It's always Boogie Nights when I hear the word "the touch" or anything like. Yeah.
Get ready, everybody, because we're going to talk a lot more about You Got the Touch.
Yes, definitely. All right, so Dave, would you recommend this movie?
Yes. The Wedding Singer is a fun time, everybody, but just know going in, if you feel, if romantic comedies kind of, make you crazy, then you're going to be really crazy after this is over.
Yeah, I would recommend it too. I was a little worried. I wouldn't really like it as much as I remembered liking it, and I still do. I still like the movie.
Yes.
I just don't love it as much as I thought I did.
It made me laugh probably like 6 or 7 times.
There's some really good laughs in it. There's a good amount of just like regular chuckles, and there's some stuff that's not so great anymore.
Right.
But overall, it's definitely one of his better comedies that he's done, and I mean, I think it's a good rom-com overall. So
right.
Yeah, The Wedding Singer, everybody. All right, so that wraps things up. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to the show anywhere you get your podcasts. Rate it and review it. And most of all, share it. That gets more dudes listening to the dudes. And you can go to dudesonmovies.com and find anything you need right there.
Yep, and we're on Facebook, Blue Sky, TikTok, and Instagram. Look for Dudes on Movies. And our email address is dudesonmovies@gmail.com.
That's right. And Dave, we have a question of the week. What is the question of the week?
What are the most infuriating movie romances?
There you go. Hit us up and let us know. And stay tuned next week when we discuss 2001's The Man Who Wasn't There, directed by Joel Coen and starring Billy Bob Thornton and Frances McDormand. So until next week, I'm your dude Scott.
I'm your dude Dave.
And we'll see you next time.